Security, remove her. 5 words, spoken loud, delivered confidently, to a woman who owned the building, the system, and the $780 million it ran on. In 5 minutes, 4 investment funds would withdraw. The National Ethics Protocol would trigger. And the man shouting? He'd be standing in a boardroom, begging her to save the institution he nearly destroyed. Tell us where you're watching from. Because this moment, right here, it's what happens when you humiliate the wrong woman in the wrong place. 2:47 p.m., downtown Chicago. The lobby of Metropolitan Trust Bank was its pride and joy. Ivory marble floors, brass fixtures, ceiling-high windows. The kind of place built to say, you should feel lucky just standing here. That afternoon, the bank's manager, Marcus Webb, leaned across his desk, glaring at the woman in the navy blazer who had just stepped through the doors like she owned the place. Because, well, she did. But he didn't know that, and he definitely didn't care to find out. "Ma'am, I've already asked once," Webb said, loud enough for the lobby to hear. "You're not on the appointment list. You have no ID, no name, no account number. This isn't that kind of bank." Cameras clicked. Phones started recording. Customers watching from the sidelines whispered as Webb's tone climbed from official to public shaming. "You can't just walk in here demanding access," he added. "People like you." He didn't get to finish. The moment he said, "people like you," the lobby temperature dropped by 10 degrees. 4 phones turned toward him in unison. A live stream started instantly. Sarah Martinez, local activist, tapped her screen. "Y'all hearing this? This manager just hit a whole microaggression in front of 20 people." The black woman in the navy blazer, Dr. Amelia Richardson, hadn't raised her voice. She hadn't moved. She simply stood there. 5'3" of complete calm. If anything, she looked bored. Then she did something very precise. She bent down, set her leather briefcase on the polished floor, and opened her purse. Rodriguez, the senior security officer, instinctively stepped forward, but something in her posture told him not to. This wasn't panic. This wasn't confrontation. This was choreography. Out came a phone, sleek, black matte, discreet initials etched in gold. AR, 1 swipe, 1 tap. She lifted the phone to her ear and said calmly, "HZN override. Ethics downgrade, level 4, Metropolitan Trust, effective now." She ended the call after 6 seconds. No fanfare, no mic drop, just facts. Webb scoffed. "What, was that your husband? Are we supposed to be scared now?" Amelia slipped her phone back into her purse. "No," she said evenly. "That was Horizon Sync." He blinked. "What's that? Some hotline?" Rodriguez turned slowly as his earpiece lit up with urgent chatter. "Dispatch, this is Regional. Confirming immediate ethics lock initiated by Horizon Sync executive credential. System now blocking all outbound and intra-institutional transfers pending federal compliance review." "What the?" Webb's jaw tensed. "That can't be." The receptionist's screen turned red. Internal systems began flagging non-compliant entity status. Transaction screens across the floor went blank. A chime echoed across the lobby. "Account access temporarily suspended. Please contact Ethics Control." Customers stared. Sarah's live stream hit 8,000 viewers in under a minute. Chat comments flew. "She called Horizon Sync? He's done. Wait, who is she?" Webb slammed his hand on the desk. "Get corporate on the phone, right now." Amelia didn't even look at him. She just stepped back and stood quietly as the chaos began unraveling like a controlled demolition. 2:52 p.m. James Morrison, Regional VP, burst through the glass doors. Suit rumpled, forehead damp, tie in his hand. His eyes locked on Amelia and his heart visibly dropped. "Dr. Richardson," he stopped mid-sentence, panting. I had no idea you were coming today." "You weren't supposed to," she replied, calm as ever. Behind her, Webb turned a sick shade of pale. "Wait, Dr. Richardson?" he stuttered. "You're the protocol designer?" "No," she said, eyes narrowing. "I'm the owner of the system, of this branch, of the 67% majority stake in the bank you tried to eject me from." Webb's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Sarah turned her phone camera toward her own face. "Y'all, this man just tried to kick out the woman who literally owns the bank and the system it runs on. Welcome to episode 1 of When Racism Meets Reality." Morrison cleared his throat, fumbling to regain some kind of control. "Dr. Richardson, the board's been notified. They've called an emergency session upstairs. They're ready for you now." "Of course they are," she said. She turned to Webb and Rodriguez. "You're both coming." Rodriguez didn't argue. Webb looked like he might pass out. "Wait, why?" he croaked. "Because I don't believe in firing people from behind a desk," Amelia replied. "I believe in letting them explain themselves. In front of everyone they've disappointed." The elevator doors opened. Morrison motioned. Amelia stepped inside. Webb followed last, shoulders hunched, face drained. As the doors began to close, Sarah whispered into her phone. History just walked into an elevator, and the man next to her? He walked into a lesson. The live stream viewer count ticked past 12,400 and rising. The elevator climbed in silence. Floor 31, then 32, then 33. Inside, tension wrapped around every person like a wet, cold blanket. Amelia stood near the front, her hands loosely clasped in front of her, as if this was just another Tuesday, which, for her, it was. James Morrison, Regional VP, stood stiffly behind her, checking his phone for updates from legal and corporate comms. Rodriguez, the security officer, kept glancing sideways at Marcus Webb, who was sweating through his tailored shirt like a man awaiting execution. And Webb? He had stopped trying to look dignified somewhere around floor 35. Now he was just praying for the ride to end. Amelia didn't say a word, but she didn't have to. Her silence screamed louder than any outburst could have. Floor 36. Webb cleared his throat. "Dr. Richardson," he started, voice shaky. "I had no idea who you were." She didn't turn. "But if you had," she said, voice calm and razor sharp, "you would have treated me differently." "Is that what you're saying?" He blinked. "Well, yes. I mean, obviously. Then your problem isn't not knowing who I am," she replied. "It's believing that only certain people are worthy of basic respect." Silence. Floor 39, then 40. Morrison winced. It wasn't just a scolding. It was an autopsy, performed with words instead of scalpels. Floor 43. Webb tried again. "Dr. Richardson, I truly regret how I handled things. If I'd just known, would you have looked at me in the eye?" she asked. He hesitated. "Would you have still said, 'people like you'?" He shrank visibly. "No, of course not," he whispered. "Exactly," she said. "And that's the problem." Floor 47. Ding. The doors opened to the executive suite. Glass walls, soft gold light, and the smell of freshly brewed coffee. Original abstract art hung on the walls. Chairs that cost more than most cars sat around a gleaming mahogany table. The board of directors was already seated, 12 men and women in tailored suits, heads turning in unison as the elevator doors parted. At the head of the table stood Robert Sterling, 71, chairman of the board. A man with silver hair, sharp eyes, and a spine made of Wall Street steel. He had mentored Amelia early in her career. He stood up. "Dr. Richardson," he said quickly, voice low but laced with concern. "What happened?" "We'll get there," she replied, stepping into the room. "But first, let me show you." She reached into her briefcase and pulled out a slim black tablet. She connected it to the large monitor on the wall behind them. With a single tap, Sarah Martinez's live stream from the lobby filled the screen. The footage played, unedited, uncut. "People like you," Webb's voice echoed across the boardroom. The room tensed. They watched it all. The arrogance, the condescension, the phrase, "just another troublemaker." And then, the moment Amelia pulled out her phone, the call to Horizon Sync, the freeze, the fallout. When the video ended, no one said a word. Webb looked like he wanted to evaporate. Board member David Chen sat back, face pale. "That's gone viral?" "Currently at 54,000 viewers," Morrison answered, "and trending on every platform." Sterling turned slowly to Webb. "Mr. Webb, would you care to explain your actions?" Webb's mouth opened, then closed again. Finally, he mumbled, "I didn't recognize her." "You didn't ask who she was," Amelia said, not even looking at him. "I made a mistake." "No," she said, turning to face him. "You made a judgment, a decision. You assumed that because I'm a black woman standing alone in a lobby without a blazer labeled CEO, I couldn't possibly belong here. You didn't just disrespect me. You disrespected the institution I built, and the system you rely on to run it." Sterling rubbed his temple. "Dr. Richardson, what would you like us to do?" "I'm not here for revenge," Amelia said. Heads turned. Even Webb looked confused. "I'm here for change." She tapped again on her tablet. A new slide appeared. Title, The SkyDignity Protocol. A collective breath held. "This is a framework I authored 2 years ago," Amelia explained. "It was rejected by this board for being too disruptive and not a priority. That ends today." She moved through the slides like a professor in total command. Mandatory ethics training for all customer-facing staff. Real-time incident flagging using Horizon Sync zero-tolerance policy on microaggressions. Quarterly ethics audits per branch. Public reporting for transparency. Board member Sarah Kim, head of communications, frowned. "That's extensive and fast." "That's intentional," Amelia said. "Fast is the only way to rebuild trust when you've lost it in under 5 minutes." Board member Thompson, old school banker, cleared his throat. "What about cost?" $4.7 million up front, Amelia said. $2.1 million annually, less than 1% of our operating budget. In return, protection against lawsuits, improved public trust, and restored market stability. Morrison nodded. "And avoidance of further credit freeze from ESG funds." Heads turned. Sterling looked at Amelia. "And what about Mr. Webb?" Amelia took a breath. "Mr. Webb has a choice," she said. "He can resign today and receive standard severance, or be terminated for cause with no benefits." Webb's eyes widened. "Dr. Richardson, please." "You didn't just humiliate me," she interrupted. "You humiliated this institution in front of the world." A long silence. "I'll resign," Webb whispered. "Good," she said. "But let me be clear. This isn't about you anymore." She turned to face the entire room. "This is about the next woman who walks into a bank and gets dismissed. This is about the next customer who gets stared down instead of served. This is about building a system that doesn't need someone to look important in order to be treated with dignity." Silence again. Then, slowly, Sterling nodded. "I support full adoption of the SkyDignity protocol," he said. "I second," Morrison added. One by one, every board member voted yes. When it was done, Sterling looked at Amelia. "Dr. Richardson, thank you," he said softly. She nodded. "Don't thank me yet. This isn't the finish line. It's the restart button." As the boardroom emptied, Webb lingered near the door. "Dr. Richardson," he said, voice weak, "I really am sorry." She looked at him, measured. "I believe you're sorry you got caught," she said. "Whether you're sorry for what you did, that's something you'll have to figure out yourself." He left, head bowed. Morrison approached her quietly. "I'll personally oversee the rollout," he said. "I know you will," she replied, "and I'll be watching." Outside the window, The skyline of Chicago shimmered in the afternoon sun. Inside, an entire industry was beginning to shift. Not because someone shouted, not because someone threatened, but because one woman pressed one button and forced an entire institution to listen. 7:41 a.m. The next morning, inside her penthouse suite overlooking the Potomac, Dr. Amelia Richardson sipped black coffee as the city slowly lit up beneath her. She was already dressed, dark slate slacks, high-neck blouse, hair tied back in a clean bun. Not for performance, but for precision. Her inbox had 189 new messages, among them an invitation from CNN's business desk, a request from the Federal Banking Ethics Commission, and one very short message from Robert Sterling. Subject line, "Whatever you need, full board support." Good, because she wasn't done. 9:02 a.m. Press conference, Metropolitan Trust HQ. The building's lobby looked nothing like it had yesterday. The same marble, the same brass. But the energy had shifted. Now, cameras lined the back wall. Journalists filled 3 rows of folding chairs, and on the center podium stood a single black microphone, waiting. Amelia stepped up without hesitation. Phones clicked. Flashbulbs flared. She scanned the room. No nerves. No script. Only facts. "Yesterday," she began, "I walked into the building I founded and was treated as if I didn't belong. Not because of my credentials, not because of my conduct, but because of a dangerous assumption tied to the color of my skin." Silence gripped the room. That moment, captured on video, wasn't unique. It was just finally visible. But this story isn't about humiliation. It's about systems and what happens when the people who build them take back control. She clicked her tablet. The large display behind her lit up. SkyDignity Protocol, a national ethics reform initiative. Powered by Horizon Sync TM. Gasps rippled across the room. "This framework," she said, "is no longer optional. As of this morning, Horizon Sync will require every participating institution to comply with SkyDignity standards to retain full access to real-time financial infrastructure. That includes credit routing, transaction APIs, and ESG compliance ratings." A Bloomberg reporter raised a hand. "Dr. Richardson, are you saying non-compliant banks will be cut off?" "No," Amelia replied smoothly. "I'm saying they already are." Murmurs exploded. 12:14 p.m. Market response. Across the industry, panic flickered. 3 regional banks, all tied to Metropolitan's infrastructure, saw instant downgrades on ESG platforms. 780 million in credit access remained locked. 4 hedge funds pulled their short-term capital. Stocks dipped, but not Metropolitan. Their shares had jumped 13% by noon, and public sentiment skyrocketing. 1:45 p.m. Inside Horizon Sync control room. In a private office 2 floors above the boardroom, Amelia stood in front of a vertical interface, the ethics dashboard. Color-coded scores blinked beside institution names. Green equals compliant, yellow equals pending red, equals ethics flagged 6. Institutions were red. Amelia tapped 1. Rivergate Union Bank flag reason. 3 customer discrimination reports within 30 days. Follow-up status. Ignored. She hit. Confirm flag escalation. The system sent a full report to federal compliance officers. No noise, no press, just execution. This wasn't just about Metropolitan anymore. It was about everyone else too. 3:26 p.m. Senate request. Her assistant entered with a note. "You're being invited to testify before the Senate Subcommittee on Financial Ethics." Amelia barely blinked. "Schedule it," she said, "and make sure they know I won't be coming quietly." 4:03 p.m. Trevor Raines calls. An unknown number flashed across her phone. She answered without greeting. "Amelia," the voice said. "It's Trevor. I'm sorry. Trevor Raines." Former partner. One of the original 3 co-founders of Horizon Sync, who had bowed out 2 years ago and sided with those who tried to dilute her vision. Now he sounded like someone watching a building burn down, a building with his name still on it. "I didn't know they were going to lock you out of your own bank," he said. "I did," she replied. "That's why I never gave up root access." Silence. "So what happens now?" Trevor asked. Amelia didn't hesitate. Now the industry changes, or it dies. 6:17 p.m. Social media reaction. Sarah Martinez, the live streamer whose footage changed everything, posted a follow-up video titled, "How Dr. Amelia Richardson Changed Banking with One Phone Call." Within 4 hours, the video reached 2.1 million views. Top comment: "She didn't just walk back in, she rewrote the rules." Twitter exploded with hashtags, #banking while black, #SkyDignity, #ethics reset, Amelia protocol. The public didn't just support her, they demanded others follow her lead. 9:30 p.m. Private call with Sterling. Sterling's voice came through her earpiece, slower than usual. "We've had 6 CEOs reach out today, asking for early access to SkyDignity compliance tools." "Good," she said. "Get them onboarded before the quarter ends." "You're turning this place into a policy machine," he said. She sipped her tea. "No, I'm turning it into a mirror." He laughed, tired. "You always did see the long game better than the rest of us." Amelia didn't reply, because she wasn't looking for credit. She was watching the system bend and finally begin to break. 11:03 p.m. Final note. Before powering down, Amelia opened one last file. SkyDignity Phase 2, Federal Integration Pilot. She tapped 3 institutions. Color, yellow. Status, pending watch list. She added a tag. Monitor for unconscious bias indicators. Schedule audit readiness within 45 days. She saved the file. Then she closed her laptop, walked to the window, looked out at the city she'd once feared wouldn't ever see her. Now, it couldn't stop watching. 3 days after the SkyDignity protocol went public, Amelia Richardson sat in her private workspace, surrounded by real-time dashboards, encrypted messages, and a giant cityscape that looked peaceful only from a distance. But below, everything was moving. Not just momentum, resistance. She expected it. Power never changes without something or someone trying to hold it hostage on its way out. 8:44 a.m. Unnamed boardroom, Midtown Manhattan. A meeting was underway. Not public, not official, not recorded. 4 men and 1 woman sat around a long black table. No logos on the walls, no placards, just strategy. At the head sat Kenneth Dorsey, chairman of Norvest Capital, the 3rd largest private equity fund on the East Coast. SkyDignity is spreading faster than we expected, Dorsey said, tapping his pen. We've lost access to Horizon Sync at 2 of our partner banks. ESG funds are hesitating, and no one's moving money until they get ethical clearance. His voice dripped with contempt at the last 2 words. What's her angle? Someone asked. Is she building a non-profit empire? She's consolidating narrative power, Dorsey snapped. Every time someone challenges her, she flips it into reform. You can't fight her with logic. You have to discredit her story. The woman at the table, Lydia Marks, a crisis PR strategist from Cobalt Influence Group, leaned forward. We plant a counter-narrative, she said. Make it look like Horizon Sync is biased. Build doubt in its algorithm. Suggest it disproportionately flags smaller banks. Then leak that her company benefits financially when competitors lose compliance. She owns 67% of Metropolitan Trust, someone added. We can spin that, paint it as a vertical monopoly. Dorsey smiled. Good. Spin it like she didn't build the system, like she rigged it. 11:03 a.m., Amelia's office, Chicago. Did you see this? Lisa Chen asked, walking in holding a tablet. Amelia barely looked up. I've seen it. across news sites. A sudden surge of headlines, all too coordinated to be coincidence. Is Horizon Sync actually hurting smaller banks? Ethics or empire? Critics say Amelia Richardson stands to gain from chaos. Sources claim protocol flags unfairly. I got penalized for asking a customer to spell her name. Chen frowned. This is clearly a smear campaign. Of course it is, Amelia replied. She looked calm, but behind her eyes, calculation was happening at blistering speed. Send a memo to our analytics team, she added. I want audit transparency reports published by 5 p.m. today. No redactions, no spin, just truth. 1:28 p.m., Horizon Sync Ethics Operations Center. A cluster of engineers, data scientists, and behavioral experts worked inside a soundproof glass command room known as the Core. Amelia entered without a word. Everyone paused. She looked at the lead ethics analyst, Jerome Lee. Show me the last 72 hours of flagged activity from flagged institutions versus unflagged. Jerome tapped. Charts flickered. Bars grew and shrank. Flagged institutions, he said, are 7 times more likely to have repeat behavior violations. Most involve documented bias patterns, not technical issues. Good, Amelia said. What about the counterspin? He pulled up keyword cloud maps from trending articles. Terms like bias, unfair, retaliation, and algorithmic agenda glowed in hot orange. They're pushing hard, Jerome said. Especially Norvest. They've seeded 5 op-eds in the last 48 hours. Amelia nodded. Then it's time to break the echo chamber. 3:10 p.m. Live interview, CNBC. Host, Dr. Richardson. There's criticism that Horizon Sync punishes smaller banks unfairly, that it concentrates power in your hands. How do you respond? Amelia. That's like blaming the thermometer for telling you have a fever. She paused. Horizon Sync doesn't generate ethics failures. It reveals them. You want fewer flags? Build better practices. Host. But you benefit when competitors fail. I benefit, she interrupted, when customers of all backgrounds are treated with respect. When institutions uphold dignity as a baseline, not a bonus. And yes, I profit. Because justice isn't charity, it's infrastructure, and I built it. 5:47 p.m. Internal systems breach. Chen burst into Amelia's office, breathless. We have a breach attempt. Amelia looked up sharply. Horizon Sync? No, Chen replied. Metropolitan Trust. Someone's trying to scrub historical ethics reports from the archives. Legacy data. 5 years worth. Amelia stood up. Trace it. 10 minutes later, the digital forensics team confirmed the login attempt had originated from a Norvest-owned compliance subcontractor. Amelia didn't flinch. She simply whispered, Activate Watchpoint Protocol. Within 2 hours, Horizon Sync had flagged 5 additional Norvest-partnered institutions for data integrity obstruction. It wasn't a war anymore. It was an exposure. 7:30 p.m. Robert Sterling calls again. His voice was low, nervous. Amelia, they're trying to bury you. Full disinformation rollout. Coordinated media. Targeted PR. Hell, they might even try to go legislative. They always try legislative when lies don't work, she said calmly. This might damage the bank's standing. Robert, I'm not protecting a bank, she replied. I'm protecting a principle. Silence. What do you need from us? Amelia paused, then said, I need the board to go on record in support of SkyDignity, on video, publicly, and I want it posted tonight. Sterling didn't argue. I'll get it done. 9:15 p.m. Statement released. Metropolitan Trust posted an official video featuring the full board led by Sterling announcing, We reaffirm our commitment to the SkyDignity protocol. We stand behind Dr. Richardson, and we believe ethics in banking isn't a disruption, it's a requirement. The video went viral overnight. Comments flooded in. Now that's how you back a CEO. Imagine being so unbothered you bring a system to its knees by drinking tea. Black women changing the world again. Don't say you weren't warned. 10:44 p.m. Final message of the day from Amelia's phone. One quiet message sent to her executive team. They'll push harder tomorrow. Let them. We don't match fire with fire. We build the fireproof. She looked out the window one last time. Chicago sparkled as always, but she knew behind the glass towers and soft lights, boardrooms were trembling. They weren't afraid of her. They were afraid of accountability with her name on it. And they should be. The first threat came in a plain envelope. No name, no return address, just a single sheet of paper printed in bold serif font. Walk away, or we start unsealing everything. Amelia stared at it, then flipped the paper over. Blank. Her eyes didn't flicker. Lisa Chen read it beside her and whispered, "Is this real?" "Of course it is," Amelia said. "They've gone from discrediting me to threatening exposure. That means they're scared." "But unsealing what?" Amelia didn't answer. She simply folded the paper once and dropped it into the shredder. They'll try harder next. 8:15 a.m. Internal message from Amelia to legal team. If any sealed documents from my past are leaked, stand down. Do not deny, defend, or distract. We do not run. We confront. By noon, they leaked the photo. One grainy shot. Amelia, at 23, wearing a protest t-shirt, standing on a police car during a march in Chicago. No violence, no arrest. Just her, screaming into a megaphone. Passionate, fierce. And underneath, a headline planted across 10 media outlets. Bank ethics architect was once anti-bank radical. It spread fast. Fox, Reddit, X. Hashtags swirled. Hashtag bank backfire. Fake ethics. Fraud. Queen cable pundits ate it up. She once said capitalism was a cage. Now she's running a bank? She's a threat to financial order. Was the whole SkyDignity protocol just revenge dressed up as reform? By 3:00 p.m., the story was everywhere. And silence wasn't enough anymore. 4:02 p.m., Amelia goes live. Not through PR, not through a network, just her phone, her voice, her words. She stood in front of the Metropolitan Trust seal. No makeup, no lighting crew, just honesty. I see the photos making its rounds. I'm not going to hide from it. Yes, that's me. I was 23, and I said what I meant. She held up the photo. They think this discredits me. That standing on top of a car yelling for justice makes me less qualified to build a system that demands it. But I believe the opposite. I am not ashamed of who I was. I am proud of how far I've come, and I will never apologize for demanding dignity for anyone. She paused. If that scares you, maybe you should be scared. And then she ended the video. No edits, no filter. It hit 3 million views in under 2 hours. 6:45 p.m. News cycle flips. Rachel Maddow calls it one of the rawest, most fearless responses to an orchestrated smear campaign I've ever seen. Trevor Noah reposts the video with the caption, "This is how you drag a system without raising your voice." And the tweets keep rolling in. She said what we've all been too afraid to say in a boardroom. Don't play with a woman who built her throne out of the bricks they threw at her. First they erased her, then she rose, then they tried to silence her. She made it louder. 8:30 p.m. Emergency meeting at Norvest HQ. They flipped the story again, Lydia Marxa said. The image was supposed to paint her as a threat. Instead, it made her a symbol. Kenneth Dorsey slammed a folder closed. She's cornering us. One more narrative win, and Horizon Sync becomes untouchable. Another board member muttered, "We still have the board leak." Dorsey narrowed his eyes. Use it. 10:12 p.m. Confidential memo leaked to press. Headline, Internal memo reveals Amelia's board considered terminating SkyDignity rollout weeks before launch. The story claimed Amelia's own board had doubts about the ethics protocol. It quoted anonymous sources calling the rollout high risk, politically aggressive, and potentially unstable. The media ran with it again. This time, she betrayed her own advisors. Next morning, 7:18 a.m., press camped outside her house. They wanted a meltdown, a denial. What they got was Amelia in a gray suit, walking to her car, calm as ever. "Do you have any comment about the leaked memo?" She stopped, turned slightly. Yes, the board had doubts. They should. That's called accountability. That's leadership. We talked, we disagreed, and then they stood with me, publicly. A reporter pressed harder. "But you ignored advice." She interrupted. "If following my gut to build something that protects millions means I ignored advice, then I'll wear that label every day." She got in the car. 10 o'clock a.m. Surprise. Letter from Senator Vic Torres. The senator, chair of the Federal Ethics Oversight Committee, issued a public statement. Dr. Amelia Richardson has been invited to testify before Congress on the expansion of ethics infrastructure across all federal financial systems. The letter had a line underlined. The committee views SkyDignity as a potential foundation for national implementation. It wasn't just a defense, it was validation. 12 o'clock p.m. Boardroom at Metropolitan Trust. Amelia faced her leadership team. Some looked tired, some anxious, but all of them were still here. She spoke plainly. "They tried to humiliate me. I stood. They tried to expose me. I revealed myself. They tried to divide us. We held." She paused. "So, let me be clear. This is no longer just a protocol. This is a movement. And from this point forward, we don't just defend it, we expand it." 2:14 p.m. Internal announcement, SkyDignity Phase 2. Federal integration pilot begins. Target launch, 90 days. Pilot partners, 3 federal agencies, 4 credit unions, 1 national mortgage lender. Objective, nationwide ethics compliance across all consumer-facing financial platforms. 6:20 p.m. Trending worldwide hashtags. SkyDignity rises. We see. You, Amelia. Ethics is power, comments from viewers across all platforms. She didn't just survive the smear, she turned it into a system upgrade. First time I've seen a black woman be attacked and come out stronger, institutionally stronger. Tell your daughters about Amelia Richardson. No cape, just strategy. 9:44 p.m. Final scene. Amelia sits on her balcony, overlooking the city. She watches a storm roll in over the skyline. But she doesn't flinch. Instead, she opens a folder marked Phase 3. Lisa Chen enters with a small grin. "You ready for them to hit harder?" Amelia closes the folder, smiles. "They haven't learned. I don't break, I build, even in the storm." And behind her, the lights of Chicago flicker. Not because the city was falling, but because it was recalibrating around a woman who refused to be erased. It was supposed to be the final blow. The email leaked at exactly 8 o'clock a.m. Eastern. Subject line: SkyDignity Insider Plan to Shift Federal Ratings. It looked like a smoking gun. A message chain between Amelia Richardson and a former federal ethics officer named Benjamin Lasker, suggesting that she had secretly influenced the FAA's ethics scoring system to benefit Metropolitan Trust. The press ate it up. By 8:17 a.m., #SkyDignity scam was trending across all platforms. CNN's banner screamed, "Ethics Queen or Data Puppet Master." Fox called for immediate Senate hearings. A conservative pundit snarled, "She gamed the government, and now she's gaming the public." The damage seemed instant. Metropolitan Trust shares dipped 11%. 2 federal partners suspended their pilot involvement. 9:05 a.m. Internal crisis meeting, ISA. Chen looked pale. They forged a real conversation using pieces of old threads. They twisted the whole context. Amelia didn't blink. "I know, but that won't matter if we don't get ahead of it." Jason Wen, their head of risk, said quietly, They want to force your resignation before Phase 2 goes live. Amelia smiled faintly. Then let's make sure Phase 2 goes louder. 10:44 a.m. Emergency press conference. Amelia didn't hide. She walked into the camera frame in full daylight, stood at the front of the podium, and laid a copy of the leaked email on the table. This is the email they're talking about. What they don't show you is the full chain. And what they never expected was that I recorded the meeting where this conversation took place. She played the audio. A clear, unedited recording of a Zoom call with Benjamin Lasker, discussing ways to build transparency, not game it. His voice rang out. What you're doing with SkyDignity could be the blueprint for the future. We'd be stupid not to study it. She looked back into the camera. They wanted scandal. What they exposed was their fear. I'm not manipulating the system. I'm building the one they can't. 1:12 p.m. Twitter explodes. She had the tapes. Amelia stays 10 steps ahead. Again. They tried to frame her with receipts. She came with a whole damn surveillance system. SkyDignity's scam collapsed. SkyDignity blueprint took its place, and Amelia trended worldwide for the third time in 2 weeks. 3:03 p.m. Backlash boomerangs. Investigative journalist Sarah Martinez published a story within hours. Title: The Leak That Broke Itself. Inside the 4.2M smear campaign against Dr. Richardson. It named names. Private security firms, PR companies, even Norvest board members caught coordinating narrative strike assets through encrypted messaging. And worse, one name lit up the financial world. Franklin Webb. The former acting chairman of Norvest, the same man who fired Amelia in the lobby, whose face was caught on the security footage that started it all. 4:45 p.m. Shareholder panic. Norvest's board scrambled to hold an emergency session. But by 5:02 p.m., 3 major institutional investors had pulled out. Total value, $3.1 billion. That night, Franklin Webb's name trended, but for the wrong reasons. Web of Lies had banking. Bully had fraudulent Frank, and someone unearthed his sealed settlement from 2018 covering allegations of discriminatory promotion practices. The internet didn't forgive. 7:22 p.m. Amelia at Horizon Sync Control. She watched the data in real time. Webb's bank lost 8 points on the Compliance Sync dashboard. 3 others, his known allies, saw freezes on ESG eligibility. Lisa leaned over her shoulder. What now? Amelia sipped her tea. We don't strike, we verify. 9:08 p.m. Anonymous tip floods the whistleblower line. Over 80 submissions in under 4 hours. Former staff, contracted PR firms, even a junior data scientist inside Norvest. Many of the entries had attachments, contracts, fake invoices, burner email threads. By morning, the FAA Ethics Office opened a formal investigation into Norvest and 2 partner institutions. Franklin Webb resigned within 36 hours next morning. National headlines. Amelia Richardson, targeted, attacked, and vindicated. SkyDignity now being considered for federal standard. Ethics system that exposed its own attackers? A clip from her original live stream re-emerged. If that scares you, maybe you should be scared. It played over footage of Norvest's stock plummeting, and then an image of Franklin Webb walking past reporters, coat over his face. 12:00 p.m. Amelia's internal memo to staff, subject, phase to launch is unshaken. We don't retreat because we were attacked. We launch because even under pressure, truth prevailed. If anyone had doubts before, let them watch what happens next. 2:00 p.m. U.S. Senate confirmation Senator Vic Torres announced that Amelia would be invited to co-lead a task force on national financial ethics integration. A standing ovation followed the announcement in the chamber. And online? A new wave of memes. Amelia 2028? Give her the keys to Wall Street. Every villain has their day. Then Amelia logs in. Final scene, 6:17 p.m. Office of the CEO, Metropolitan Trust. Amelia sat alone, lights low, staring at the city. Chicago was glowing, rain falling in thin sheets on the windows. Lisa stepped in quietly. "You know, they might still come after you." Amelia nodded. "They will." Lisa tilted her head. "Aren't you tired?" Amelia smiled softly. "I'm not here to win every round. I'm here to build something so strong they won't have to fight the next woman like me." She closed the laptop, stood up, walked toward the light. Because the war wasn't over, but the strategy had already changed the battlefield. It started with 3 signatures. By 8:03 a.m., Amelia Richardson sat across from the heads of 3 federal agencies: Consumer Finance Board, FAA Ethics Division, and the Office of Digital Accountability. The conference room inside Metropolitan Trust's 29th floor was tense but focused. A single document lay on the table: Federal Ethics Expansion Pilot Charter, Phase 2. Each agency head reviewed their line, then signed. No press, no fanfare, just pen to paper, and a seismic shift in the future of financial governance. Lisa Chen exhaled. "It's done." Amelia gave a small nod. "Now we scale." 10:45 a.m. Public announcement. Amelia stood in front of a packed press conference. As of today, SkyDignity enters Phase 2. This means ethics scoring is no longer optional for institutions handling public-facing funds. It will begin with 12-month pilot programs across mortgage lenders, fintech platforms, and airline loyalty credit networks. She paused. "This isn't about punishment. It's about prevention. Ethics isn't just compliance, it's consumer protection." The room buzzed. Reporters fired off questions, but one stood out. "Ms. Richardson, what do you say to critics calling this an overreach of private infrastructure into federal policy?" Amelia didn't flinch. "The same thing I'd say to someone asking why we wear seatbelts, because we've seen what happens without them." 1:00 p.m. Reaction across the industry. Some companies leaned in. Unity Bank tweeted support. "We're proud to be one of the first adopters of SkyDignity's expanded compliance framework." Brightline Mortgage announced a voluntary onboarding into Phase 2, but others didn't take it well. Atlas Credit Union released a cold statement. "We do not participate in systems that bypass traditional regulatory review." Western Fold, a rising fintech giant, pulled out of a pending integration contract worth $62 million. And behind closed doors, murmurs grew louder. 3:13 p.m. Private meeting at Ridgemark Financial inside a sleek, private office in Manhattan. 5 banking executives met over scotch and thin smiles. "She's consolidating too fast," one said. "We underestimated her influence," another muttered. "We have 2 options," the senior partner said. "Adopt it or fracture it." They leaned into the second. 5:42 p.m. Media firestorm begins. An anonymous leak reached 3 major publications, alleging that SkyDignity's scoring was biased against mid-sized regional institutions. Amelia's team had undue access to regulatory schedules. Horizon Sync collected consumer data outside permissible bounds. It was subtle, strategic. The kind of attack meant to confuse more than accuse, but Amelia had already seen it coming. Next morning, 6:30 a.m. Lisa barged into Amelia's office, iPad in hand. "They're saying you're overreaching again. Digital ethics surveillance." Amelia calmly flipped open a folder. "It's time we show them the data." 8:00 a.m. SkyDignity Transparency Dashboard goes public. In a bold move, Amelia's team launched a real-time dashboard online. It displayed every ethics flag logged within Phase 1, anonymous complaint resolutions, audit trails showing no manipulation, and internal scoring methodology for Phase 2. She released a video message along with it. You want oversight? Here it is. Everything. Visible, verified, vetted. We don't just demand transparency, we live it. Public sentiment flipped. Again. 1:00 p.m. Senator Vic Torres responds. The SkyDignity platform has demonstrated more operational transparency in 6 months than most institutions have in 6 years. We now consider it a model for voluntary, pre-regulatory compliance. Behind those words was something deeper. Federal agencies were no longer just experimenting. They were positioning SkyDignity as standard setting. Amelia wasn't just winning the narrative. She was changing the rules. Meanwhile, backlash builds quietly inside Atlas Credit Union. A whistleblower emailed Amelia's office anonymously. It contained screenshots of an internal Slack chat. We'll keep scoring people by zip code income clusters until she shuts us down. And if SkyDignity ever audits us, we're toast. Amelia read it quietly, then turned to her legal counsel. Flag them, notify federal partners, but we don't shame them yet. Lisa frowned. Why not? Amelia answered. Because I'm not here to burn institutions. I'm here to rebuild them. 5:00 p.m. New alliance emerges. The National Credit Federation, a coalition of 190 regional banks, voted to adopt SkyDignity Phase 2 scoring voluntarily. That night, their spokesperson said, "We've seen what trying to hide looks like. We'd rather be part of something that prevents the next scandal, not the next lawsuit." The dominoes had started falling. 7:30 p.m. Amelia on a panel with 3 federal CIOs live-streamed. Over 600,000 viewers. One moderator asked, "Dr. Richardson, how do you know this system won't be corrupted in 5 years?" Her answer was simple. We've designed SkyDignity so that no one, not even me, can alter its data once entered. It's not just about transparency today, it's about trust that outlives me. And for the first time, one of the CIOs nodded with visible conviction. If only every system worked that way. Closing scene. 10:04 p.m. Amelia's balcony rain tapped lightly against the windows. Lisa joined her with a cup of tea. It's spreading faster than we thought. Amelia smiled. Ethics always spread fast when people realize it protects them. Lisa hesitated. Are you ready for Phase 3? Amelia looked out at the city, deep in thought. No, but it's ready for us. In the reflection of the glass, the skyline shimmered. Not just with power, but with something far rarer, accountability. The first blow didn't come from the outside. It came from someone sitting 2 chairs down at a round table. Deputy Director William Arnett had smiled through every public ethics hearing, nodded through every SkyDignity proposal, and even gave Amelia a warm handshake after the federal pilot vote. But that morning, a redacted memo leaked to the National Ledger bore his signature. Concerns remain that SkyDignity creates operational bottlenecks in legacy platforms. Recommendation: temporary freeze on further Phase 3 integrations pending Senate review. Translation: let's pause this, quietly, before it's too late. And just like that, the cracks started forming. 9:00 a.m. Internal call with Federal Oversight Committee. Amelia dialed in early. Senator Vic Torres joined from D.C., frowning. What the hell is Arnett trying to pull? He's not alone, Amelia replied. 2 more agency deputies had already co-signed similar delay memos. None of them had surfaced this concern before. None had flagged it internally. They were coordinated. Silent resistance dressed up in procedural concern. Amelia leaned back in her chair. We expected opposition. We didn't expect it in blue suits with perfect manners. 10:32 a.m. Emergency Core Team meeting. Jason Nguyen summarized it cleanly. They're not attacking the results. They're attacking the scale. SkyDignity had moved too fast for some. Not because it didn't work, but because it did. Financial institutions could no longer hide shady fee models behind legacy systems. Government vendors couldn't delay ethics audits with paperwork excuses. SkyDignity made behavior visible in real time. and that terrified people who'd built their careers on selective enforcement. Amelia stared at the screen. Her voice was calm. So, they want Phase 3 dead before it's born. Lisa nodded. We have 2 weeks before the Senate takes it up. 12:00 p.m. Back channel warning. An anonymous source within the Office of Financial Tech Reform texted Amelia. Heads up. Arnett's pushing for a closed-door ethics review of SkyDignity's algorithm. Claims it's unverified. It's bait. It wasn't about verification. It was about buying time, delaying progress, and letting big banks flood the system with lobbyists while SkyDignity stalled. Amelia sighed. Then we force it into the open. 2:30 p.m. The counterstrike. A data drop. Amelia's team launched SkyDignity Pulse, a real-time analytics stream showing average complaint resolution times by region, ethics flag frequency by institution type, user satisfaction rates across phases Y and 2, and a chart titled Bottleneck Analysis, 0 delays reported. Alongside it was a 2-minute video message from Amelia herself. They say we're slowing the system. The data says otherwise. What we are slowing down is misconduct. That night, nearly every major tech outlet covered the drop. SkyDignity doesn't just talk ethics, it visualizes them. Real-time oversight may be the future of federal compliance. Old guard fear system that works too well. 4:45 p.m. Arnett responds publicly. He smiled. Privately, he panicked. Behind the scenes, his allies suggested withdrawing the freeze motion and reframing it as a collaborative audit. But Amelia wasn't waiting. She had one last move. A risky one. 7:00 p.m. Meeting with Senator Torres and the 2 key allies. I'm taking it to the floor, Amelia said. Torres blinked. You mean public testimony? Before the freeze hearing? Yes. Amelia nodded. No more backroom rumors. We bring the whole damn thing into the light. The senator hesitated. They'll try to rip you apart. Amelia's eyes were steady. Let them. I want the American people to see who's protecting transparency and who's terrified of it. Next day, Capitol Hill C-SPAN. Cameras on. Twitter live feeds running. The Senate Subcommittee on Financial Technology convened a special hearing titled The Role of AI-Driven Ethics Platforms in Public Infrastructure. But everyone knew it was really about her. Amelia took the witness chair calmly. Behind her sat Lisa, Jason, and 2 of the SkyDignity data leads. Senator Mallory, a longtime skeptic, led the questioning. Dr. Richardson, are you aware that some agencies believe your system overreaches its mandate? Amelia didn't blink. I'm aware that some officials are more comfortable when misconduct can't be tracked in real time. The room stirred. SkyDignity doesn't overreach. It simply refuses to look away. Amelia's closing statement. We built SkyDignity to fix what we've ignored for decades. Real-time behavior accountability in public-facing systems. The problem isn't the technology. It's that for the first time, people can't hide behind lag time and silence. If that threatens some, maybe the threat was never the system. Maybe it was exposure. The gallery erupted in applause. Even a few senators clapped. On record. Within 48 hours, Arnett's motion was tabled. 3 federal agencies issued statements supporting Phase 3. Senator Mallory requested a private session with Amelia to explore extending the model to federal hiring practices. More importantly, SkyDignity Phase 3 was cleared to proceed. Final scene. Late night at headquarters, Lisa knocked quietly. You okay? Amelia looked up from her laptop. Yeah. You know they're not done. I know, she said, but neither are we. Lisa looked at her for a moment. You know what scares them the most? Amelia smiled. That the next system won't even need me to run. She stood, stretching her back. The skyline of Chicago flickered through the windows. She walked toward it, a quiet force. Not chasing power, defining how it behaves. Because revolution wasn't loud anymore. It was auditable. It didn't start with a whistleblower. It started with a glitch. At exactly 3:17 a.m., the SkyDignity system flagged something odd. A sequence of user access tokens being duplicated across 3 partner institutions. Not invalid, just identical. The kicker? Each clone appeared at the edge of the Horizon Sync compliance grid, meaning someone wasn't just breaking in. They were already inside and hiding. By 3:28 a.m., an automated breach alert landed in Lisa Chen's inbox. She was already up, and 10 minutes later, she was knocking on Amelia's apartment door like her life depended on it. Lisa's voice was low, controlled. It's not an external threat. Someone inside is mimicking our access logs, slipping under the radar. Amelia's mind clicked instantly into gear. How long? 12 days, maybe longer. But last night, they tried to overwrite complaint resolutions. So they're faking it, Amelia muttered, making it look like ethics violations were resolved when nothing was done. Lisa nodded. Amelia closed her eyes for a beat. Then she stood, already walking toward her laptop. It's time to activate GridLock. The GridLock protocol was a nuclear option, Amelia's last line of defense when she designed SkyDignity. It wasn't meant to be used unless the system's very integrity was under siege. This was that moment. By 5 o'clock a.m., GridLock triggered across the network. All flagged institutions and 11,000 plus potentially compromised user tokens were pushed into mirror mode. Read-only status. From the outside, everything looked fine. Inside, everything froze. Institutions woke up confused. Compliance officers couldn't make edits. Executives couldn't clear ethics reviews. Phone calls started coming in. First confused, then alarmed. At 8:10 a.m., one partner bank rep called bluntly, "Is this a system crash?" Amelia issued a single, public-facing statement. "We've detected anomalous behavior across multiple compliance bridges. Until full integrity is confirmed, those systems are frozen to protect all parties. This is not a failure, it's accountability." By noon, media coverage was already split. One network framed it as an overreaction. Another accused SkyDignity of pulling power away from federal partners. But then Amelia made a bold move, publishing a live audit dashboard. Everyone could see the logs. Complaint timestamps overwritten, response delays falsified, ethics flags bypassed. Suddenly, the story changed. Headlines read, "SkyDignity thwarts internal ethics tampering." CEO Richardson's GridLock reveals $400 million in hidden exposure. A system built for transparency just proved it works. And behind the scenes, things were boiling over. At Union Tier Group, one of the partner institutions involved, an emergency meeting was already in motion. Someone had built shadow credentials, mirrored complaint responses, and allowed bad behavior to slip through while looking squeaky clean. Now, the logs were public. The pressure was nuclear. "We're screwed," one executive said. "She has everything." She did. Amelia's team had mirrored all back-end logs the moment GridLock went live. Nothing could be deleted. Not now. That evening, Senator Torres called from D.C., her voice sharp. "You're saying this wasn't a malfunction, but sabotage?" "Intentional," Amelia confirmed. "Not hackers, employees." "Names?" "Tomorrow," Amelia said. "We'll release them with verified proof." The next morning, she did exactly that. Amelia stepped onto the press stage in a gray tailored suit. No notes in hand. Cameras rolled. "Over the past 2 weeks," she said, "certain institutions attempted to game the ethics system from the inside. They falsified complaint resolutions, cloned credentials, and fabricated compliance. Not because they feared the system would fail, but because they knew it worked." She let that hang in the air. The following organizations have been flagged and removed from the SkyDignity ecosystem: Union Tier Group, Mid-Continental Finance Cooperative, Apex Ethic Advisory, and a fourth federal subcontractor we're currently investigating. All access is revoked, all logs are archived, and all cases are under review. The fallout was immediate. Stock for Union Tier dropped 23% within hours. 3 internal ethics officers turned whistleblower by noon. A fourth institution issued a public apology. 1 CEO resigned. $620 million in federal compliance contracts were instantly frozen. Amelia didn't flinch. That night, alone in her office, she scrolled through anonymous messages. "I almost quit. Today I didn't. We knew they were cheating, we just never had proof. Thank you for seeing us." Lisa stepped in quietly. "You okay?" Amelia didn't answer right away. She was staring out the window, watching the city blink like a circuit board. "They were invisible," she murmured. Lisa gave a wry smile. "Until you turned the lights on?" "No," Amelia said. "Until the people inside knew someone would look." She turned from the glass. "Tomorrow we redesign the system. No more edges, no more blind spots, not even for us." Lisa nodded. "That's going to scare a lot of people." Amelia looked back out the window, calm. Good, because she knew now, reform didn't just come from rules. It came from refusing to let the silence win. And tonight, silence had lost. It was the Monday after the ethics collapse. And this time, Amelia wasn't walking into anyone else's boardroom. She was walking into her own. The lobby of Metropolitan Trust Bank, now eerily quiet, buzzed under the surface. Staff had heard everything. Some had watched the press conference live. Others whispered about the GridLock protocol like it was a code word for Judgment Day. As Amelia stepped through the glass doors flanked by 2 federal ethics observers, every pair of eyes turned toward her. She wasn't escorted. She wasn't announced. She arrived. Behind her, Lisa handed out sealed audit packets. Jason, from Systems Ops, was already on a call coordinating new firewall access. Amelia kept walking, straight toward the elevator. The security guard, the same one who weeks ago asked her to wait outside for the real executives, stood now with his head slightly bowed. He didn't say a word. Neither did she. Upstairs, the executive floor was in chaos. Emergency meetings, canceled contracts. 4 C-suite officers were out on administrative leave, but everyone knew the truth. They were complicit in the override scandal, or at best had failed to stop it. Only one remained at his desk, Edward Lang, Chief Risk Officer. He stood when Amelia entered, looking tired, possibly ashamed. "You're early," he said. "I own the building," she replied simply. "And the bank." He nodded. "You always did. Now the world knows." In the boardroom, a temporary federal ethics panel had already gathered. They weren't there to punish. Not yet. They were there to observe how Amelia would rebuild. And she had a plan. "Effective immediately," she began. "We're implementing a 3-tier reform structure across all divisions." One of the panelists raised an eyebrow. "Without waiting for government review?" Amelia smiled thinly. "If we wait for review, we'll bury another 100,000 ethics complaints in process backlog. I'd rather act." She laid out the new structure. Public-facing transparency grid. All ethics cases now had real-time status viewable by complainants. Internal Ethics Sentinel Program. A volunteer corps of staff across all departments trained to flag concerns anonymously, separate from HR or management. Bridge Firewall Rebuild. A redesign of the Horizon Sync interface that prevented cross-institution ghost access without human override. "This isn't a patch," she said. "It's a new frame." By midweek, major publications were calling it the Richardson model. Even skeptics admitted she wasn't just cleaning house, she was redefining the architecture. And then came the call. Senator Torres, the one who challenged her a week ago, reached out again. This time, the tone was different. "Your firewall upgrades. Any reason they can't be standardized across other banks?" "They can," Amelia said, "but I won't hand them over as a private asset." There was a pause. You want public control? I want joint oversight, with citizen review access. That's ambitious. No, Amelia said. It's overdue. Within 72 hours, the FAA Ethics Subcommittee voted unanimously to invite Amelia to co-lead the redesign of national compliance infrastructure across financial institutions. But not everyone was thrilled. Some industry leaders, including CEOs from Apex Ethic and Union Tier Group, lobbied against her inclusion, claiming her stance was hostile to internal operations. Amelia didn't respond publicly. She didn't have to. Whistleblowers, grassroots ethics organizers, and public sector partners began flooding social media and professional boards with their support. She wasn't just being given power, she was being asked to take it. That Friday night, she returned home just past 11 p.m., exhausted. Her apartment, quiet, was still lit by the dim glow of her workspace screens. Lisa was there too, running numbers on a portable terminal. You realize, Lisa said gently, you've gone from ousted executive to national compliance architect in less than 3 weeks. Amelia leaned back in her chair, arms crossed. I didn't want power. No, but you built it anyway. There was a silence between them, not tired, but full, like two people sitting at the edge of something bigger than either had words for. Lisa looked up again. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if they hadn't kicked you out that day? Amelia didn't hesitate. They'd still be running fake audits, ghost editing data, silencing staff. She exhaled slowly. I owe that receptionist a thank you. By Sunday morning, a new message appeared on the bank's website homepage. We failed our people, but we're listening now. It linked to a dashboard that showed every step of their compliance rebuild in real time. Every resolved case, every pending one, every oversight contact. And in a quiet update under leadership, Amelia's name was listed. Dr. Amelia Richardson, Chairwoman and CEO, Metropolitan Trust Founder, Horizon Sync, SkyDignity. The following week, Congress issued a motion to adopt the Richardson Standard, a new national benchmark for ethics systems. A public-private partnership governed by both internal compliance and citizen watchdogs. Banks that failed to adopt the protocols within 6 months would lose access to Horizon Sync's compliance network. The balance had shifted. No more shadow edits. No more fake closures. No more pretending people weren't watching. Because now, they were. And in the quiet of her rebuilt office, as the city lights blinked against the windows, Amelia didn't celebrate. She just got back to work. Because this wasn't about vindication anymore. This was about making sure no one else had to beg to be taken seriously in a system they already built. Amelia didn't flinch when the Senate hearing date was announced. She didn't blink when the committee lineup was leaked. Names of politicians who once scoffed at the idea of real-time public ethics dashboards now set to grill her under oath. She'd spent too many years being underestimated to care. But what she hadn't expected was the silence that settled inside her as the cameras rolled. It was the first time she wasn't fighting to prove what happened. She was finally being asked how it should have been prevented. The committee room was tense, a full panel. Spectators packed the gallery, press lining the back wall like buzzards waiting for blood. And there she was, center seat, blazer crisp, posture strong. Not a disruptor. Not an angry black woman stereotype, but the architect. The room quieted. Senator Brooks leaned in. Dr. Richardson, we've read the reports. We've seen the audits. But I want to hear it from you. What broke? Amelia didn't blink. What broke, she said slowly, was trust. She paused, letting the words settle. Not in a system. In the idea that the people running it ever wanted it to work. Senator Brooks tapped his pen. You're saying the failure was intentional. I'm saying it was profitable. That shifted something. Several heads in the audience nodded. The media caught it. Amelia continued. For years, we built systems with loopholes large enough to fly corporate jets through. Systems that were never meant to protect people, only reputations. And when we made something that actually worked, they tried to bury it. Senator Chang cut in, skeptical. You say they. Who exactly is they? Amelia's expression stayed calm. Anyone who benefits from opacity. From complaint settlements done behind closed doors. From contracts renewed before audits are even finished. She turned slightly toward the press. You know who they are. They sit on your boards. They fund your campaigns. That landed like a hammer. Over the next 2 hours, Amelia walked the panel through the GridLock breach, the Horizon Sync firewall upgrade, and the SkyDignity protocol that exposed internal tampering across 4 institutions. She didn't rush. She didn't raise her voice. She explained how the ethics scores were manipulated, how employees were punished for reporting, how the audit trails had been falsified. Until they weren't. And then came the moment everyone was waiting for. Senator Vallon leaned forward. Dr. Richardson, if this committee gave you full federal clearance, what would you do tomorrow? Amelia looked straight ahead. I would implement the SkyDignity public mirror system, federally enforced. Every complaint, every closure, every appeal, time-stamped, publicly visible, immutable, silence. And I'd fund an independent civilian oversight council to audit every federal institution using those systems. Murmurs spread through the chamber. You're proposing civilian access to internal compliance? I'm proposing accountability, she replied. By the end of the hearing, the mood had shifted. Senators who once seemed combative now scribbled notes. News outlets started running live polls. Do you support public ethics mirrors? Should federal institutions adopt the Richardson standard? By nightfall, the polls were at 81% in favor. 3 days later, it was official. The SkyDignity Reform Bill had its first co-sponsors in the Senate. The FAA announced it would begin pilot testing Amelia's mirror system. 4 federal institutions volunteered to be part of the first phase. And quietly, one of the banks that had ousted her, they emailed her a proposal to re-engage. She didn't even open it. That weekend, she visited her mother's grave. The air was still, warm, jasmine in bloom. She didn't speak at first, just stood there, hands in her pockets, breathing. Then she knelt down and whispered, They finally listened, Mama. Her voice broke, just once. They didn't believe me before, but they do now. She stayed there a while, not as the CEO, not as the builder of protocols or the breaker of silence, just a daughter whose voice had once been silenced too, and now echoed in the halls of power. The first meeting of the National Public Ethics Council didn't take place in a marble chamber or some glass-towered bank headquarters. It happened in a modest auditorium on the south side of Chicago, the very same city where Amelia had been kicked out of her own bank just weeks before. And this time, she wasn't there as a victim. She was there as the chairwoman. Hundreds had shown up. Some wore suits. Others came in jeans and hoodies, holding notepads, laptops, or just hope. A woman in the front row raised her hand during the open floor session. She looked nervous but determined. I'm not a lawyer or anything, she said, but my brother tried to report wage theft at his credit union last year. They told him there was no record of his complaint, that it must have gotten lost. The whole room was quiet. Amelia stepped forward from her seat on stage. She didn't speak like a corporate leader. She spoke like someone who'd lived it. That's why we built the mirror system, she said. From now on, your complaint can't be erased, can't be edited, can't be ignored. Applause broke out, and not polite clapping, real applause. The kind that comes from people who've waited years just to be heard. After the session, a teenage girl approached Amelia quietly, holding a small folder. Inside was a short ethics audit she'd done for her school banking app. She'd downloaded the SkyDignity toolkit off the internet after seeing Amelia on the news. I just wanted to test it, she said, looking down. I didn't think anyone would read it. Amelia smiled, took the folder gently, and said, We're reading all of them. That evening, as the council's first policy draft was finalized, Lisa passed Amelia a cup of coffee. You know they're already trying to lobby against you, right? Lisa said, Some CEOs say the mirror system will kill investor confidence. Amelia took a sip. If ethics transparency scares your investors, maybe your business model was the problem. Lisa grinned. You never quit, do you? Amelia looked out the window at the Chicago skyline, glowing softly in the dusk. I did once, she said, when they told me my voice didn't belong in the room. She turned back to Lisa. Never again. 2 months later, the SkyDignity Act passed the Senate with bipartisan support. Metropolitan Trust became the first bank in the nation to adopt citizen-controlled compliance dashboards. 12 more followed. The Horizon Sync firewall was rolled out nationally, and in one final move of poetic justice, Amelia declined a $5 million speaking engagement from Apex Ethic, one of the very firms that once blacklisted her. Instead, she donated the offer, in full, to fund ethics education programs in underrepresented schools. On the 1-year anniversary of that fateful day at the bank, Amelia returned to the same glass doors. This time, there was no hesitation. The receptionist, a new one, greeted her with a nervous but genuine smile. Dr. Richardson, would you like someone to escort you up? Amelia shook her head gently. No, she said. I built this place. I know the way. And she walked, calm, powerful, whole, toward the elevator. Not to reclaim what was hers, but to open the door wider for everyone coming next. If you made it this far, wow. What would you have done if you were Amelia? Would you have walked away or walked back in stronger? Tell us in the comments. We read every single one. And hey, if this story hit you in the gut like it did us, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more true-feeling stories that expose power, justice, and what happens when the tables turn. And before you go, tell us where you're watching from. It always blows our minds how far these stories travel. This is Telltales, where the unheard voices finally get heard.